Folks, hello and welcome to, believe it or not, Dungeons, Dragons, and Discourse, but we don't have our neighborhood hill giant today. Instead, we had to pull in two of our larger personalities from this channel to fill the shoes of Glen Hallstrom. Rob Conley.
We missed you, Glen.
It took two of us. I mean, because he's as big as Rob and I put together. I mean, he is a hill giant.
He's they're head and shoulders. He's head and shoulders above the rest. Rob Conley, Bat in the Attic Games. We're going to be talking a little bit about contracts, and if you've never heard Rob look at contracts like the community contracts on Drive-Thru and others, Rob has an understanding of this that I'll never come close to. And of course, my once a week, this time twice a week, work spouse, Bad Mike Battalato. Woohoo! So, there's been recent news in the industry. It's the reason why we got these three heads together. The Orc license is now live. It is in finalized form. We're going to talk about that. There is what looks to be a new license for swords and wizardry. We will talk about that, and we're going to be talking about we're going to talk about this right before we went live. Do we even need rule sets for the OSR at this point? Honestly, I mean, there's different talk about that, and we'll go beyond that. But that's kind of like where we stand. Oh my God, you all are yapping away in the chat.
Yeah, calm down over there.
Calm down. Calm down.
There will be no Rob Conley bingo tonight, by the way. So sorry there. But I'm telling you. So here's what we got.
What do you mean? I got all this stuff. I mean, which thing you want me to pull from my shelf? I mean,
there's no Rob Conley bingo. But what we're gonna do is tonight, Receipts of the Russet Lord bag.
Which I finally get now.
So we didn't know.
We're gonna take offers from people who are in the chat tonight. So old-fashioned bid, highest bid at the end of the night. We're gonna give the money to Tenkar's Tavern, and I'm gonna say, yeah, why not? I don't need it. Fugley doesn't need it. Rob doesn't need it.
I thought we were gonna give it to the con.
Well, no, I want to give it to. I mean, we can do whatever you want to with it. I'll give it to you. If you want to hand it back to me, you're fine.
No. The money goes to North Texas, folks.
All right, money goes to North Texas. I will give the money to send the money to North Texas. But we will take bids on this, starting at $5. Whoever wants to bid, and we will. So please just go up. Don't let's not have a lot of comedy tonight. Oh, we're gonna bid $5.30. No, let's go.
$1 increments.
Yes, please $1 increments, and please take it. But the money is we're donated to the con. You will get a one-of-a-kind bag, except for the one I think Rob has one, and this is it. And it's going to have a familiar face on the front. It is. I mean, it's not super sturdy. You can put a couple books in. Don't throw your D&D handbooks in here. You'll tear this bag in half. When it says Receipts of the Russet Lord, it's really meant for paper products. So I think that's a good title for it. It's meant, and that comes from Deceit of the Russet Lord, correct, Rob? Deceits of the Russet Lord.
The name of the adventure I'm working on is called Deceit of the Russet Lord.
All right, thank you. Thank you, JR. We have $5. So we're starting off $5. We have $5 bid. Thank you, JR. So at least $5, and we're going to come back to this periodically during the night and see if we can get a little more money for that. But we started off. At least we're going to get $5. At least we're going to get $5 for it. I can buy like a cupcake or something at the con, for whatever. We can get Erica beer one night. I don't know if $5 would afford it, but We're right on the edge. Oh, wait a second. Hold on. We have a shill in here. We have a shill bidder.
I'm allowed to bid if I $5.
Okay, that's why you didn't want it to go to Tenkar's Tavern.
Yeah,
copy for yourself. Okay.
Oh, bidding war.
It all makes sense.
JR11. Son of a.
Oh boy. Yeah, it's gonna be that kind of evening, folks.
All right. We're currently at a. I should probably make a banner for the current price.
Why not? Let's do it.
All right, hold on. I'm going to make it. In the meantime, talk amongst yourselves.
And we're going to have Rob virtually sign this online. He's going to virtually sign it while he's here tonight. I'm going to put it here.
I mean, it's not virtually. I got one of these bad boys, so I can sign it for real.
Go. Anyway, so but we're gonna talk all this fun stuff that's been going on lately, orc license and licensing in general. And this is something that I don't know how much of it works. Rob knows how this works, so Rob's going to talk to us about the new released orc license. What I want to know is, first of all, right off the bat, Rob, what does the orc license do exactly? Explain what the orc license does, or what is it supposed to do?
Okay, so it's structured like the OGL. Okay, so starting off, the first thing is it's structured like the OGL in that it has open content and it has content that the publisher keeps for themselves. The first difference, and the really important difference that everybody got to understand using orc is any game mechanic, if you want to license things under orc, whether it starts out as your original work or you're adapting other people's work that's already orc licensed, all game mechanics must be open content. They call it, and I'm pulling up the text here. Oh, they call it licensed material. So that's the term that they use. So licensed material is materials that you can use in all game mechanics, and they spell out what are game mechanics, like creation and play of player and non-player characters, such as statistics, attributes, and so on. Systems and classification applicable to gameplay, like alignment, background, classes, experience point, levels, and so forth. Methods of determining success or failure and outcome, which are like task systems. So they took a more maximalist view of open content in that, and they're expressing the view that game mechanics can't be copyrighted. So if you license anything, if you want to create use orc license for your material, all your game materials, all your game mechanics should be open content. But anything that, like your NPC description, your history of your world, the background of your adventure, the discussion of your plot, your advice about how to run a campaign, you can make that what they call it reserve material. Those are things like trademarks, trade dress, and things that you write that are not essential to the system of the game.
Right. So they gave an example with like a magic a spell. So the description of the spell would be open content, but the history of the spell, Tenkar's terrible turtle, whatever. The history of what Tenkar did to create that spell, if it's part of the spell description, that wouldn't be open. But the description of how the spell works would be.
Yes, and this is unlike how the OGL does it. There are many OGL products out there that don't really detail what is open. They just say anything based on the D20 SRD, or in some cases the 5E SRD, is hereby declare open content, meaning basically only the stat blocks or the spell stat. But even the spell description wasn't declared as open content. And that the writers of orcs, and I guess I could be partially to blame to this, maybe a small bit. I was one of the ones who brought that up, that it would be a good idea to orc, given the fact that game mechanic can't be copyrighted, make that explicit in the orc license, and I guess they listened to me and others. Then there's one other third one that's important to remember. They call it third-party reserve material. That's anything you license from another party. So say, for example, the journey system that Cubicle 7 just published, an Uncharted Journey. Say you got a license to use that, and you want to use that with the new Pathfinder, you can do that, and you do not have, even though it's game mechanics, you do not have to license it under orc. You don't have to open it up because that is under a third-party license that's not covered You don't have the right. They realize you don't have the right, but they explicitly said if you created it and you licensed under, say, the OGL or the CCBY, you can't go and justify closing that up because you just happen to release it under another license. No, if you control the IP, then you must, and you want to make an orc product, any game mechanic that you have the IP rights to, you have to open. So, and that's basically, there's a lot of other details about how you attribute, but that's the really important thing that people need to consider.
This is basically like you're sharing the sandbox, because we're saying, I'm going to create this and you can use these parts of it, but not these parts. And so what's the benefit of this? I mean, why would I just say, nah, I'm write my own stuff. I don't need 18 other people deciding, or be able to pull stuff from 18 other people, or do you need to pull stuff from 18 other people? I mean, does that make a better game?
I mean, if it was somebody like me in 2008 who was just interested in writing about my majestic Waterland and writing a few adventures, I mean, it means I could just go into Matt Swords and Wizardry Corvu or RTF, and I knew what I had to cite, that just the OGL with the proper section 15. And that was it. I could use anything wanted. I could paste it in as is. It was hassle-free. Now with Osric, I considered Osric, but they have half of the work under the Osric work, which says, oh yeah, you can share it, but you can't alter a single word of it if you share it. It has to remain as is. And I thought, look, I don't want to have to worry because I decide to tweak this monster to fit, or this spell to fit what I'm trying to do. I don't want to deal. So I didn't consider Osric. And in Labyrinth Lord, it was out by then, but Labyrinth Lord was open, but it didn't have that Word document that I could just copy and paste stuff.
I mean, that Word document is awesome.
Yeah, it's very useful. Yeah.
And so that's the thing. So what's the benefit for using open content? That means people can focus on what they want to focus on, rather than the first thing at the game company in the 80s and 90s was, I guess we have to write our own system. Because I'm sure everybody remember those generic system adventures out. However good they were, they always kind of suck when you try to use them for your GURPS game or your D&D game.
Judges Guild was big on that, yeah.
Yeah.
And was it
No, it's the 5 ring guys.
Eldritch Ant tried it and it did not work out.
Yeah, the faux percentage system.
Yeah.
Just divide by 20.
No.
Nope.
So we all know the history of that. So it's good to have a system, and people who want to adapt it to another D&D related system. I mean, we all know how close all the classic systems are, so it usually becomes a no-brainer. But so there's that. So it lowers the barrier to entrance, allows people to focus on only what they want to focus on, and also too, I mean, we're getting old. Life circumstances changes, and we can't do what we do. I mean, it happened to Dan Proctor, and he disappeared for a while. He had things he needed to deal with, and he came back. And it happens to all of us. And if it's traditionally copyrighted, then that dies. But if it's open content, then somebody like the guys at Necrotic Gnome can pick it up and release old school essentials, and it may be tough for the original guy, Dan, to come back with OSE in the picture, but all the BX guys just kept chugging along. They had their, they did a good job with the presentation, made it real easy to use. And
well, who are we looking at when we talk about org? What big companies are big content providers are throwing stuff out into the org license?
Well, we know that there's Chaosium. They just released their BRP under Orc, which is kind of big compared to their prior stance. Their quote OGL wasn't really an OGL. We know Pazio is going to have a revised edition of their 2E under Orc, which means for people making OSR clones, depending on how turns out it's another place where we can go to get the terms we need, like fighter, armor class, hit points, and all that stuff. It will mean a commitment, though, to opening your game mechanics. So keep that in mind if you use orc material. There was one other.
Those are the two big ones that I knew of. I'm trying to think of anybody else.
Well, Cobalt and Paizo were the first two to really.
Yeah, Cobalt. Is Cobalt Press doing it? Cobalt Press is doing work, right?
Yeah, I think they're releasing Tales of the Valiant under Orc. I think that's the intention.
Yeah, but there was somebody like, I don't know if it was Free League or how you pronounce it, Medesis, the one who used the 2D20.
Oh, Medias, no, whatever.
Medias. Yeah, there was one of that tier that would say to support releasing orc related content.
And we know that Green Ronin will probably, because they were part of the I don't know, the initial group that was working out the terms of the license. So there's a lot. I believe Alex Macris is going to be involved. Was involved in it, so I'm assuming that the next acts will be released under Orc, which will be awesome if you want a Labyrinth Lord type under Orc, because Adventure Conquer King system was pretty much built off of Labyrinth Lord taken it to 11.
Yeah, I talked about a little bit because when the OGA fiasco came down, I had to cover my butt with my Majestic Fantasy stuff, and I talked about what he was doing, and hopefully the fact that Orc finally got finalized will make it easier for him to make something that keep what he was doing D&D compatible, rather than have to call strength or wisdom, will, and dexterity, agility, or whatever.
John Miller has a question. How feasible is it to publish quasi-generic OSR content without using a license? I can foresee problems when trying to include IP-protected spells, monsters, magic items like Beholders. Don't touch the IP-protected shit.
And you don't need to. You don't have to. You don't have to.
It's a little bit of gray, okay? I mean, mainly Mayfair Games won the battle in the 80s, but lost the war. Lost the war. But they didn't lose the war because they won the battle that said that their supplement, similar to what you're talking about, John, they won that. They just couldn't hold on. They had other problems with as a company, and they couldn't hold on against TSR. And however, just keep in mind when you going that route, all you have to do to be completely in the clear is put what Wizards want, which is this is based on materials published by Wizards of the Coast in the 5e SRD under the CCBY 4.0 license, and that's it. You don't have to figure out how to lay out that OGL in a small text or the CCBY. You just put that in. You don't even have to open your own personal content if you don't want. I encourage you to, but you don't have to.
Right.
All you have to do is put that in, and then all those terms in the 5e SRD are yours free to use.
Beholder is not one of those terms, so you can use iMonster or whatever, Optical Maniac or whatever you want.
Any of the IP monsters at this point have had 10, 15 years of reworks to where Unity or Serpent Man and Carrion Crawlers or Carrion Crud. I mean, whatever. They've all been reworked.
The Mind Flayers. They've all been clonified. Mm-hmm. They've all been copied. Excuse me. And there's obviously versions that you can.
And I just want to say about Matt Finch's new Swords and Wizardry that he just had a Kickstarter for. I was reading one of the comments to it, and he says that if you use the new Swords and Wizardry, you're going to have to include that decoration. So, which means for all his talk of a new license, he's basing his work to get the terms he needs off of the 5e SRD. I mean, it makes sense, but that begs the question: why do we need a different license? And to boot, if you're just going to base Swords and Wizardry off of the 5e SRD. And to be clear, this means that Swords and Wizardry is not a 5e clone by any means. It's just he's getting armor class, hit points, hit dice, and all that.
You're just taking what you need out of it and using it for your own system, right?
Which, and this is, we are in a lot of ways a new world. Because even though the OGL is technically still here, we all know that Wizards wants you to step away from it. You know that when they say things like, I don't understand why anybody would care about the OGL at this point, when all you got to do is use the Creative Commons license, which means that the OGL still scares them. The OGL scares them more than the Creative Commons license. Well, once you put things in the Creative Commons license, it's like it's almost like in the public domain. But it doesn't have the forced viral aspect of the OGL. The OGL, by default, makes derivative work open to the community. Can you lock it down? Certainly. But you have to take a step or two to do so. By default, as written, your content is open. By default, as written, the original Swords and Wizardry content was open. Open under the OGL. That's the reason why there were so many Swords and Wizardry derivatives, right? We saw White Star, probably the most famous derivative, which was why did James use Swords and Wizardry and not Labyrinth Lord? Well, one of the reasons is because Swords and Wizardry was completely open.
Yep, had that RTF. It was easy to crop out what you need, and that was that.
So, I mean, if you want to make, in a way, Matt was smart. He made Swords and Wizardry the closest thing that we had to a Rosetta Stone in the OSR, because there were so many derivatives of it, because it was so easy to make a derivative of it. Now, Matt is putting obstacles up to prevent things like he mentions somebody reprinting his monsters pretty much word for word. We saw that with Labyrinth Lord content with James Bond about a decade ago, when James was doing Labyrinth Lord content before he did the Swords and Wizardry content, and somebody went through and literally, we talked about this last night on our Discord hangout, literally went through, copied and pasted word for word what James did, just changed the layout and maybe put a new piece of public domain artwork up and reissued all of James's stuff. It was up for a couple of weeks, maybe on drive-thru at most, before drive-thru said, hey, this isn't in the spirit of what we're doing here.
Right.
But you could theoretically do such. You could take, I've seen it with Swords of Wizardry Continual Light. People take it, and do they change it? Yes, but do they acknowledge the source? No. People are like, what? Wait a second. This Swords of Wizardry Continual Light, that's a ripoff of. It's like, no. I did it first. The other is a continuation, but it's part of the risk of using an open license or offering your stuff under an open license, because my mindset is still pretty much like Matt's original mindset, which was make as much of your content open, because you want people to riff off your work. You want your work to live on in other flavors and other varieties. That's how I looked at it.
It's not just that. Everybody, I hope everybody knows, when you're running a business, one of the things you got to do is advertise, right? You got to you got to market and advertise your stuff out there.
That's my problem. Bingo. Oh boy.
So, what's one way to advertise? Well, to release some of your stuff, or maybe even all of it, as open content. Then it gets freely shared, and in there's your name: Robert Conley, Eric Tenkar,
right?
Bad Mike, whose last name escapes me at the moment, because I always see him as Bad Mike.
That's why I'm Bad Mike, because my teachers couldn't even pronounce my name.
But even though you're not getting any dollars for that, you're not paying the ad dollars. You're not paying drive-through to have a banner on top of their thing. It's just free advertisement. And I've been at this since 2008, publishing on my own. I tracked it. I know when my stuff appears on the piracy site. I know when my stuff is being shared around and who's using it. It may take me a while, but I figure I finally stumble onto it. And I tell you, my sales, they mostly track based on what I do, not what they do.
Right.
When I'm out there producing, my stuff goes up. When I'm not producing, when I like in the moment I'm working on a bunch of stuff that haven't seen the light of day, they go down. And it's so really to make it in the OSR or to make it in RPG Publisher where we're at, it's all about what you produce, and the more you produce and the voice that you have, the better off you'll be. That's why Kevin Crawford does so well. He regularly writes material in his voice, and he does a good job of it. And because it always keeps interest high in what he does.
He's a machine, yeah. So John says, I see the SRD has generic names for most spells. I've always been a big proponent, and I'm glad that Rob does this, and there's a few other guys who do this. But I think that the mark of a good DM or world creator or whatever you want to call it, content creator, is somebody that makes each world their own. I use generic names for all my spells. I don't have Melfs, Mordenkainens, Tensors. I don't do that stuff because those mages don't exist in my campaign world, so I don't use that. That's something I think people should get in the habit of doing, is moving away from what the rules rules as written say, and do your own version. And I think that's one of the marks of a great OSR rule set and an OSR campaign, is doing your own thing. I try to individualize as many things as possible. I know Rob's done that in his Majestic Waterlands. I've read through the rules. I love some of the rules Rob has, and I've borrowed some of them for my campaign because they're good. And I think the same thing for spell names, monster names. I think all that stuff. Nobody wants to play generic D&D campaign number 475. They want to play in your world and see what interesting things you have, and how your races are different than other races, and what you do differently. And I think that's the mark of a mature DM, is when you do something like that, or a mature game master.
Well, but people's ability to create original content varies. I mean, take a look at what I do. Even though you like my monsters and stuff, boy, that's really distracting when I'm talking there, Mike.
Bid on the bag, damn it! Bid on the bag.
$15. Come on, we can do better than 15, guys.
Money goes to
I am half expecting those lips to move in some form of rotoscoping.
If we could do that,
I have to start throwing stuff in the bag. Because I'll start throwing stuff in the bag here in just a second.
So like my Scourge of the Demon Wolf, I don't really have anything special. I use the only special thing is the demon, and that's really the last thing in the mid. And that really, I forgot which demon I used as the template. One of the middle ones, type 3 to. I have to look it up, but I call it a wrath demon. But I just use wolves. I just use regular NPCs, magic users, thieves, fighters, a cleric, and so I didn't come up with anything special for all that. Yet it's Scourge of the Demon Wolf sold quite well. It was a gold seller before I had to take it down. But and it's going to be up again, folks. It's just going to be using my new Majestic Fantasy Realm, not the Majestic Waterland. But so there's guys like me out there who are not interested in creating new monsters. They just want to use a list. They want to use some list that people can recognize. They don't have to make their own. So it's important that we have the generic. It's important we have a source where people can use and take from, and then add whatever, focused on just what makes them special. Then later on, if they want to branch out, and like I did when I finally made my RPG, been great. Yeah. But let's not force them to have to do that first.
Well, one thing I've noticed from talking with a number of mostly smaller publishers, but it's been noticed that those that advertise your adventure, your supplement as simply OSR as opposed to for Sword and Wizardry, for Shadow Dark,
Thank you, Tim.
For Labyrinth Lord. Oh, Tim. That would put it in the hands of somebody.
Yeah,
who
show this
Tenkar.
Tenkar.
Hey, Rob. Hey, Rob. But
he will so do that the next time we get together.
Yep. So if you're selling your supplement as simply an OSR supplement, it somehow doesn't seem to catch the attention as much as if you're selling it for a specific OSR system. Even though we all know that everything is 95% compatible with everything else, especially the rules that are based upon original basic expert BECMI. I mean, that's like 99% compatible, and if you go to 1E, it's like 95.
Mm-hmm.
But we all know, right? We all did that in our younger days. We all bought a basic adventure and ran it with AD&D 1E. But there's something about if you just brand it OSR, it's like you're branding it as generic. And generic does not sell.
Right.
It doesn't. Even if
it's weird. It seems like it would, but it doesn't. It's the most odd. It's the oddest thing ever. But Eric's absolutely right. They want your take. They want your version. They don't want just generic. How many generic systems fail? A lot of them. They all fail. Nobody wants generic.
That's not true. That's not true. But
it's true.
I mean, Savage World is doing great.
Well, but no, what I'm saying
used to do great.
No, we're not. But you're not. See, what I'm saying here is just generic, as in it's generic D&D. No, but nobody wants. Now, if you're saying GURPS generic universal role playing system or Savage Worlds that are adaptable to different settings and genres, no, they have. But here's the thing: I don't think that there's room for another system to break in on either of their levels, because that market has GURPS for those that want realism as far as games go, and Savage Worlds that want something that plays faster and
Rob, I'd say nobody plays GURPS anymore because nobody plays GURPS anymore. But yeah, Savage Worlds is a good example. But
there is a competitor that if I had to say, it would be Savage World, Fate.
Fate is another good one.
Maybe Genesis is it, but Genesis.
Yeah, we just had a convention where there was not one GURPS game, I believe, Eric, if I'm correct.
Wow, all right.
Yeah, but yeah, Savage Worlds, Fate. I'll take those two.
It breaks my heart because I'm a big GURPS fan.
I know, but
that's the reality.
The world passed it by, Rob.
I've been warning them. I even risk getting banned from the forum. But
well, maybe if they spend as much time doing Kickstarters for Car Wars and Ogre and
and Grew
Fantasy
Trip, they did Dungeon Fantasy, but they still missed the mark. They they're so close but so far.
Well, I think the problem with Dungeon Fantasy is we step into that room briefly, and I own it, and it's a beautiful box set. And if I was going to run a version of GURPS, it would be where I would land, but I still felt that it wasn't as accessible to the average D20 gamer coming from 5e, coming from the OGL, coming from the OSR, and coming to the GURPS world. Listen, when I was in my 20s, I could play anything and run anything. Give me the rule book. I was ready in 48 hours. Let's go. We're doing it.
Mm-hmm. I can tell you why, Eric, because they adopted 250-point character, and the problem isn't the 250-point level. It's the fact that comes with 36 elements to the character between skills, advantages, and powers.
It's an artifact of another era.
And
that was that era. That was very much an artifact of the 80s. I mean, that's
no. See, 2E GURPS, when you made a fighter, you only had a dozen at most.
What year was it? That was 83, though, right? Was that 80?
No, that was 88, 89.
Oh, it was 88? I thought, God,
they only included like 80. Okay, that gets me talking. About 86, 87, 2E box set.
Okay.
was there, and then the 3E was the early 90s.
Well, that was the golden age. Then the 90s is what screwed it up. The 90s is where they got out of control.
More is better type of deal.
Yeah, me and Tim taught dozens of people in Meadville how to play GURPS, and we live in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's not exactly a small town, but it isn't big either. It's about 30,000 people all around the total area. But when you made a GURPS character off of 2E, you needed maybe like 2 or 3 advantages, and you only needed like up to 9 skills, and then you had your attributes, fight your equipment, and you were done. And people could handle that. I mean, they handle that with 5E right now, that many elements. But when you get up to 3 dozen different stuff that you got to read about and understand, no, it's not going to work.
The world is turning where look, if my character dies, I want to be able to roll up another character pretty darn quick. I don't want to have to sit there for another half an hour. I think that everything's kind of, even 5E's moving that way. Everybody's moving that way. Look, let's just get this going. Let's play the game. Yes, and you still have your wonks that like to play Paizo and create a character that will be great for the next 37 levels. But yeah, I think that especially in the OSR, definitely you're moving toward.
Boy, I know it. I mean, I made these cards because I wanted people to have the chance to, especially when it's not like a OSR convention like ShireCon, get a chance for people to roll up their own characters. But obviously, you have a 4-hour time slot. You can't spend too much time on it.
No.
So I figured out. I kept working at my references until I was able to get it down to the most I ever spent was a half hour doing it, but I was often get it done, keep people going in 20 minutes. And, I just say, here, pick a race, pick a character class. Okay, you're done with that. Here's your character class. Write it down. And here's your equipment. And I even when 5E came out and I saw they had their equipment pack, I said, I'm borrowing that idea. So it cut down on people buying equipment.
That was genius. Now, Rob,
that's a stop down. Yeah, that's a major stop down.
Rob, I'm going to ask you a question. Since you are our
Eric, you need to change your crawl at the bottom. Come on, man. You're not the winner. You're not the leader.
Oh, wait. Oh, that's right. Yeah, thank you.
You are not the leader, sir.
I am not the leader.
Move your damn self off.
But Rob, since you are our GURPS specialist here, I got a question for you. If GURPS had been opened under an open license, where third-party creators, small and large, could have dabbled in the system, do you think it would have had a greater following than it does?
Yes, I think if we had right now, Douglas Cole is doing under the restrictions of his licensing agreement. And keep in mind, SJ Games trust him because he was an author who did works for them under contract, and so he was a known quantity. But Douglas Cole does very good work, but just pay attention to what he does for the fantasy trip, which, from my understanding, has a more liberal license than his GURP stuff versus his OSE stuff. Imagine if he had the same liberality. Because his GURP stuff all has to be Viking related to its Viking related setting. That's what he licensed for, and he does the job. Now imagine there's 6 of us doing that, each focused in our area, and perhaps even allow us to come out with rule books. Tweaked. It's not a copy and paste job, but tweaked in formatting and in tone and tenor. And Steve Jackson could be looking at that and saying, maybe some of these guys have a point, and we have something to learn. I mean, the guy won awards. He has a ton of experience, but I have a ton of experience, and I'm learning something every day.
Right.
And, I mean, that thing I mentioned about 5E equipment packs.
Are you talking about Steve Jackson?
Yeah,
because
Steve Jackson.
He doesn't seem like he's too interested in doing anything except retreads at this point. I mean, they're great retreads. I mean, the Fantasy Trip box set's awesome, but that's all we seem to be getting out of it. And that and Munchkin. I don't think we're getting any great new ideas from the man.
No, if you really dig in, you'll see these little bits of games that he's putting out. It's just none of it just popped out of nowhere like Munchkin and just say, "Wow, we could put a lot of effort into this."
Well, Munchkin became like the goose that laid the golden egg. It keeps on laying eggs, and it's beautiful because each one has been golden. Nothing. It keeps on making cash, but it's pushed other stuff to the side to a large extent. And if it wasn't for Doug, I don't really think there'd be all that much support for GURPS. These days. I've got hiccups. Oh my god!
What is going on, Yalki over here? What are you drinking? What are you drinking? I guess
I am drinking Diet Coke from McDonald's. This is not
okay. That's
and
I am too.
When TFT was released, they were talking about having an open content program, and that just fell by the wayside.
That would have been something that could listen.
Frogga was going to put out TFT content, and then that didn't work out. So,
here's the dirty little secret, folks, of the open game license. It supports a system. The reason why WotC initially came out with it is they wanted to farm out the adventure creation aspect to third parties. And the best way to do it was to give them a license to create third-party content. They didn't foresee people making derivative systems off of 5e, or if anybody saw it, they didn't tell the bosses, because the bosses didn't see that. It's like, oh my God, they're making derivatives. But they thought that they can unload the tedious aspect, the least profitable aspect of supporting the system onto third parties. And it worked better than they could ever have hoped.
It didn't impact their sales. In fact,
no, it's a Starbucks effect by far. Yeah, definitely Starbucks effect.
And what's the Starbucks effect? I didn't ever heard of it phrased that way.
Starbucks effect is where everybody says, "Well, Starbucks didn't exist. Boy, mom and pop coffee shop would do great." And actually, accountants and financiers and business people have proven that absolutely wrong. As a matter of fact, the more Starbucks in your town, the better mom and pops do. It's the Starbucks effect, because the more they see Starbucks, they want to get a coffee, but they don't necessarily want to have to get a Starbucks coffee because they don't want to have to wait in line. They don't want to pay the Starbucks price. So actually the Starbucks explosion over the past, I don't know, what has it been, 25 years, has helped mom and pop coffee shop. There was no mom and pop coffee shops when I was a kid. Zero. None. Nada. Yeah. You got coffee at a donut shop, or you got it in 7-Eleven. Now they're on every street corner. And it's because Starbucks. So they call it the Starbucks effect, which means basically once you see something out there, you get other things out there.
I was at a fair today, or not a fair, but a festival, and had, all the carnival rides and stuff like that. And there was a portable bistro there. It just proudly serving coffee, hot chocolate stuff. And it was just a little trailer that they have a serving window, and it's a bistro in the middle of
my little town, Euless, Texas, probably has 6 Starbucks. It's tiny, but because of that, we have 6 other places. We've got Dutch Brothers, which is a competitor, but we've also got a few other mom and pops. And at matter of fact, a couple of years ago at the North Texas, we had a coffee food truck. And we were actually very popular. We just couldn't get them this year. We had them 2 years ago, but they were extremely popular. But yeah, so the Starbucks. So it's the same thing. It's the Starbucks effect, except for gaming. Is that it's the same. The same thing happened with the music industry, because remember when they were cracking down in the early odds, say, oh, your grandmother that has 15 songs on your computer and you didn't pay for them, we're going to sue you for $100 grand or whatever. And they had these massive lawsuits against any person who had downloaded music for free. Then somebody finally talked sense into the companies and said, look, all you're creating is bad will. Plus we have the figures to show that the more the music's out there, paid for or not, the more we sell. And after about 2 years, they finally started dropping all these suits because they realized it was true. The more the music's out there, legal or illegal, the more that the music sold. And because there are people out there like myself that sometimes would download a song or an album. If they liked it, they go buy the CD. And to a lesser extent, that also happens with D&D stuff. I to this day, if I see something I'm not sure if it's something I'm going to enjoy, I will see if I can get a copy of it. And if I like it, I'll go buy it because I like to spread that money around. but it actually in effect creates more sales than it does less. It's kind of a weird dichotomy, but it works. And so I think we have the same thing in gaming to a certain extent. The more stuff is out. I mean, look, when third edition came out and the floodgates opened, was there a lot of crap? Yes, there was a ton of crap.
Oh my
God.
And
I mean crap like
forward entertainment,
like toilet paper. I mean, I have some stuff to this day I kept because it's so bad. I kept it just to prove how bad RPG products could get. But was there good stuff too?
John Miller, sorry to interrupt, but John Miller has a question. Because if Starbuck
do you really want my answer? Because they're stupid. They're fucking morons. What else you want me to say? These are dumb people. Because they came from Microsoft, and Microsoft's entire business model, everything they do is monetization. And they don't understand how the gaming industry works. They still don't understand how the gaming industry works. They know they got pushback. I would not say that they're 100% sure exactly what happened still to this day. I don't think they really know what happened. They just know that if they said this and this, the pushback would stop. But look, why did Bud Light send money to a streamer that was obviously had nothing to do with their product and has caused them to lose $20 billion now? Because they're dumb. That they don't understand what's going on. They don't look beyond their little bubble. And that's exactly what happened with WotC.
Okay, so you're right that they're stupid, but the question is, why are they stupid? And that's okay. So,
Rob's gonna tell us. Okay, I'm listening.
Okay, so I can't answer specifically.
Oh, damn it! What a definitive answer.
Wait.
They're so stupid.
But I'm pretty sure it applies to them.
But no, I think their Microsoft origins. Look, this is why they hired Pinkertons, because the guy used to work he was a Pinkerton agent. So he thought, oh, you bring in Pinkerton agents when you want to strong arm people. I mean, and I think the same thing with their Microsoft executives. They thought, oh, what do you want to do when you make money when you're, what do you want to do? Well, here's what you want to do. You want to monetize everything possible.
Well, it's not just about monetization. It's about control. That's the problem.
Right.
Every author who writes their work becomes invested in it. And they have to, you have to wonder, if giving up control of what I created, even if it is based on somebody else's work, most of what we do is based on somebody's work. We all stand on the shoulders that become those before us. But recent people who wrote recent work, but the thing is, it's about control. It's hard to let go of control. Now, in the case of Microsoft, you're absolutely right. Or not Microsoft, WotC. They want control to make money. And they view the only way they can make money is to have control. And we know that's incorrect when applied for the gaming industry, that the way the game industry works, it works best if you don't exert complete control. You say it's okay to play with this stuff here. This is the stuff we're going to keep, but here's the core stuff that you can play with, and then it just makes you the good guy in their eye and more apt to buy your work because they say, he's a good guy. Let's see what the Saltmarsh adventure. The Saltmarsh adventure, the last thing I bought from WotC, and that when I still had that lingering good feeling from them back when they solicited everybody's opinion about 5e. And actually appear to have listened. And so, oh, cool, they're doing a Greyhawk thing by Saltmarsh. Is it any good? It seemed to be okay. But so I got it.
John Miller, I'll give you a partial answer, John. It's interesting that the 5e Wizards of the Coast adopted the model of all hardcover adventures and supplements. Does anyone know? Oh, we lost Mike there. Does anyone know why hardcovers are more profitable than paperbacks? Is it just the price per unit? I'm not sure if it's just the price per unit, but I know one significant factor is hardcover books can be displayed better in a bookstore or a game store because you can read what it is, right? When just that little sliver is facing at you, where with the paperback supplements, the traditional modules all had to be facing you in order for you to be able to know what you're looking at.
Sorry, I got excited and clicked my screen off. I guess I'm excited at what Rob was saying.
I can't handle this.
I was like trying to click. I clicked my screen off.
So that's why, partially why they went to hardcover books is that they look better on a bookshelf. They take less forward-facing space, and the space where you could just show off one Slaver's Adventure, A1, stacked facing the people. You could probably have, 2 of 3 different titles, 6 books facing you just by that little edge. Sure, you have to turn your head to read it, but that's. And Fook is right. We expect more from hardcover.
I'll tell you something. Is knowing some game store owners, they don't like modules because modules on the shelf will eventually wear. Their corners turn. Especially a lot of the modules nowadays are made very cheaply compared to because a lot of them are print on demand. Print on demand is right. Not kind to paper adventures, and as Eric said, they also look better on the shelf, but also they don't damage as much, and they actually have longer shelf life than paper adventures. And I know a lot of shop owners that say this. They don't like having paper adventures or having modules.
Cardboard, the softer cardboard.
Especially, like I said, if you do POD, a lot of that POD stuff, it starts falling apart the minute you start flipping through it. It's not great quality, and that's what a lot of stuff is POD now.
Again, soft cover, hardcover.
Soft cover, yes. I'm talking about soft cover. Yeah,
you can get some very, and I'm not talking the initial quality
stuff is hardcover, and this is I've already beat the hell out of this book. It's doing fine. So, yeah, the hardcover stuff is usually of much better quality, but the soft cover stuff, I've had stuff curl after I read through it one time, and the covers are. Front and back covers are curled up, and they do not like that on the shelf. It doesn't look good. And if people paw through it, people are going to flip through it. Yeah, it's going to get handled. It's going to get beat up, and it's going to get crap.
All right, taking a note. The next version of Black Marsh hardcover.
It's
going to be a real.
Hey, I got it.
Fast Forward Entertainment used to do that. Buy one magic item in hardcover, 18 pages. Oh my God!
How did that work out?
Oh, it didn't. But here's something else when it comes to POD, and this is for those of you that who questions like, well, why is it if it's a black and white interior, am I getting high quality color pages? Why am I paying extra? Because there are at least 2 different paper qualities that drive-through / lightning source uses, and if the bleed through on the poor page paper quality, depending on your product, it can bleed through. So a lot of times smarter publishers, and I will say they're smarter, would rather opt that you pay an extra $3 or $4 for a product that you're going to look at and go, oh, I can read this because I'm not getting bleed through from the other side of the page. So that generally is why.
You never know. Like I bought stuff from Lulu and I've got it's garbage. I just set it. I mean, you set it back and they just get another, and then the next copy is perfect. You're like, oh, okay, well that was a bad. I don't know what was wrong, but that was just a bad batch.
A little bit too much ink on the page as they were printing it. It's with the higher quality paper, you won't see that because it's just it's got more poundage or something. So let's wind this back. Oh yeah, the bag.
$20 is life.
You can't let him shorts walk away with this bag.
He's going to torment Rob with
it.
This.
It will come to me,
Don't
Bill.
let Tim
make Black Marsh great again. People, make Black Marsh great again. Make it great. Make it unforgettable. We need more than $20. Sorry, I don't do great impressions, and that's.
I'm gonna start stuffing stuff in this bag in just a second. I don't know who I'm gonna attract. It may just be more goodies for Tim. Tim may just collect, I got
a question.
Yeah, bring it on. Put some more stuff in there.
Well, my work. So I got 4 maps. I'm almost done with the 3rd map. I'm outside of the force. I was on vacation all week, and I did vacation stuff, but I had a lot of free days to do writing, so I got some writing done on there. I'm out of the Forsaken Desert and marching to some mountains, and then once I cross those mountains, I'm into the 4th map, and so hopefully this fall, really shooting for this fall. Really want to get this out. I really think the people will like
it. In respect to Rob, it should be Judges Guild stuff. I was about to say that. Yes.
Here is a Judges Guild. Welcome to the world of fantasy prophets. for Judges Guild. I believe this is from 1982. 1982 catalog by itself. Come on. This is invaluable information for anybody that loves Judges Guild. That we're going to throw that in there. And this is okay. I just do this because it's right by here. I'm going to grab it. I probably shouldn't even be doing this. We have still in the Judges Guild envelope, sealed.
Uh-oh.
In the Judges Guild envelope, a copy of Dungeoneer 17. Now, why do I know it's Dungeoneer 17? Because I have a pile of these, and every one I've ever opened has Dungeoneer 17 in it. But I'm not saying you couldn't get lucky, but I'm pretty sure there's a Dungeoneer 17 here. So Dungeoneer 17 still in the sealed.
Damn it, you're going to make me bid on my own.
1981, plus Welcome to Judges Guild World of Fantasy Profits catalog for 1982. I'm putting those in the bag. These are going in the bag for you Judges Guild aficionados. That's, I mean, come on. Right there, that's $20 right there. So here, I'm putting that in the
TXG. I was just
there we go. Okay, I was just a fan. I got a Judges
Tim was out there.
I knew I would dig one out there. Especially since that the envelope, I only have a few of those. That's there because somebody bought one. I won't even tell you what he bought it for, but it's more than we have up there right now. And I pulled two accidentally, so there was one laying there. So there you go.
Wow.
Yeah, you get your value.
Thank you, climbing the mountain.
Yeah, we went for the All-Stars.
Rob and I weren't gonna tell anybody about this, but our own show starting next week. It's called the Russet Lord and the Bad Man, and we're gonna be talking about we're talking about LARPing and GURPS and drinking whiskey.
I still have that fight with Joe coming on.
It's going to be everything you ever wanted to see out of both of us. So
like a bad
I don't think Rob and I have time for any more shows. I don't think we can do any more.
It sounds like it really does sound like a
all right. I don't know if I should do this, guys, but if I share my screen, could you see a video through it?
Yeah, I think so. Why? What?
Porn? This is not porn.
I gotta admit, it's been 15 years since I did a real bout. Okay. I mean, I did a little fencing, but nothing, just see how well I do. So me and Kellyanne heard of a Viking Fest over in Ohio, and we went over there, and they had challenged the Swordmaster there. So I paid my bucks, and I paid to fight one of them because they have a cheaper level where you can fight, one of your friends or something with the equipment they have. But no, I wanted to face one of them. And I did.
I had to mention LARP. This is why we got this, because I mentioned LARP and Rob's brain went.
There's no bingo.
So if you want to see the video, guys,
no bingo
card. The video up, and then we're gonna bring it back to the Orc license. But let's in the meantime.
This just happened.
There's no bingo card, folks. You can't. You just can't do it, man. But Rob, put it up. Share it. And,
all right, I gotta find it. I
do not have a Dungeoneer's Journal 24. At one point, I had a lot of those, and I've whittled them down during the years. I believe that I have finally sold all the ones I had, unfortunately. But yes, at one point I was quite loaded down with.
Everybody can see what Joe is up against. Let's see if I can.
Dun.
Google Drive. Okay, so.
Yes, and Joe blogs Castle Arbage doing good, and he will be our guest next week. On Talking Crit next Wednesday night.
Well, good thing I wasn't broadcasting for that. That was just a garden picture there.
Oh. So now, Mike, do we have a guest following? I know somebody reached out.
No, I know somebody that wants to be a guest that I talked to him today, and I think you talked to him today too. So we may have to bring him on because he's one of our most popular guests. But we'll have to. Okay,
he brings in the ladies.
He was mad. He was angry, and I like him angry. I'm just worried his anger might subside the next 2 weeks, which would suck. I like him angry when they come on our show, Eric. I like him angry.
He's worked up. Yeah, he'll have another.
By the way, we could. Well, the subject he's worked up about, we could talk about that a teeny bit tonight. The Annie nominations came out, and it's there's some joke, there's some laughters on there. There's two things I like, and this person that we're talking about correctly guessed the two things I liked, and everything else I can't. I just like I don't care. I don't give a damn about anything else on that list except for those two things, which were Vastin and Rivers of London. And other than that,
you're forgetting a friend of the show.
Oh, who did I skip? Who did I miss?
Darcy.
Oh, Darcy's on there.
Is this going to work, Eric, for you?
Yeah, it will.
I did not see her. Oh, there we go.
Oh.
I'm in slow-mo, man.
Yeah.
Whoa,
Oh.
Look at that tank. That guy's he's got the young buck working it, man.
Where one goes to? Name?
Rob.
Yay!
It's kind of fun having you being able to do that.
I'm not sure.
That's a real gamble.
Yeah.
He's probably taking it easy on your office. He's afraid to drop a heart attack.
Round 2 goes to Rob.
Oh, this is great. I got commentary from you.
Rob.
He's like, this guy's bad at it.
I love Bob. I'm sorry.
I had to take a breather here.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm good. I had to walk. I had to walk the whole fair afterwards.
Is it? Go Rob. Oh, you're gonna be fighting a guy.
And
What a flesh wound.
yeah, we're playing Python rules.
Rob is attacked. If he's on that.
Oh no, Rob doesn't have a shield. What's going to happen to you?
You both died.
I'm still giving it to you. You won everything.
Both died. So it's 2-0. Yeah, I won this bad.
You want a big one? Ooh, nice.
Here's my proof.
All right. I'm sad I didn't see any real blood, but there we go. I like the way he came in all cocky, Rob, and you showed him like he's like, oh, this guy, whatever, and he's young and he thought he was badass. He just couldn't do it, man. He couldn't bring it.
Yeah, I showed it to a few of my life buddies. They pointed out some things I've forgotten. For example, when you fight with sword and shield, you lead with your shield leg. And you saw me shuffle there a couple times. I shouldn't have been doing that. You do kind of like a lunge hop in order to keep your shield leg, because you can protect your leg with your shield. Otherwise, if you put your other leg forward, they can come in and swipe you in from the side. You're just like big open target. And the second bout I won because I kept my shield leg forward.
The Winded Butcher. Fugly, we need another bag. Call it with the Winded Butcher on it. Oh, he's working on.
You don't want to see what happens when I'm.
He'll have one done in an hour now. He'll have the.
You don't want to see. I've been in a handful of full contact fights, and they never end well for the other guy. There's some bouncing, and it's not from me. It's not me bouncing around.
So by the way, somebody mentioned Joe Block's Kickstarter, the Mad Archery. Yeah, he's at $30,000 first week. He's doing really good. Yeah, good for him, and it looked like a good product. I like the original. The one thing I thought it suffered from, it has really, really bad artwork, the original, but because Joe didn't spend any money on artwork for the original, but right. I think this remake looks nice, and so I've already backed it, so we'll talk to him about that next week. But Climbing says Rob's going to crush Joe. Joe's supporters setting up for failure. I don't. At this point, speed is gone. The match will be about power. So that's okay. So we're going to have to see how this works out then.
Just a warning, though. Joe's been going to the gym.
My leg speed may be gone, but I still got it in the wrist. That's why I held my own for the guy.
We want the match film, by the way, between the two.
The wind.
Hey, Joe claimed that he studied that video and already knows my weaknesses.
Oh my gosh! Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to fight at ShireCon, right? Are you going to fight? You need to do a ShireCon example battle or what?
Yep.
Because our insurance wouldn't cover that in North Texas. You cannot do that in North Texas. I don't want you and Joe dead at 100 degrees beating on each other, and you both fall over dead. Then we're responsible for the death of two OSR legends at our con. So no, that's not allowed.
How did this happen? This
tragedy occur? Well, No, this is a Sharakan.
I could have pushed through and do the third bout without taking a pause, but so this fair was lined up in a half-mile long, and that was the first place that we hit. So I had about a mile of walking to do after that, and I didn't want to have to go after the fight and from a 20-year-old and sit down for 20 minutes and have Kellyanne wait for me. So I took that 1 minute breather, and then I was able to. Well, actually, we killed each other that last bout. I hit him, and he hit me in the upper arm, and so that
I
was
believe
high.
I believe he took you too lightly, Rob. I watched that. He seemed like he was cocky. You showed him a thing or two. I think he was way far too cocky. So as noted, we have $30 bid on the Rusted Lord. We have inside a Judges Guild catalog, 1982, and what I believe is a Dungeoneer 30 thrown there. Don't make me throw in something else. $30 is a fine price. Don't get me wrong. But
It's a fine price.
we still have 45 minutes, and I can't believe Tim's going to let this go. Tim thinks he might get another copy somewhere else. He's not going to get another copy anywhere else. This is it.
It's the only place you're gonna get. You're only gonna get this bag in one place.
The only quality bag you're going to get here is from me tonight. So,
I mean, Tim, you can take that bag to the bookstore with you.
oh my! Just think of the photo opportunities, Tim. Walking around town, maybe throw a little ladies' lingerie in there, and take a picture. I mean, put some.
Come on, Tim is not James Raggy here.
All right, walk around with that bag
in there,
with Rob as you go shopping, and people be looking and going, "You're like, Rob, I saw you. Oh, 40.
Oh, there we go. See, I knew I could guilt. I knew this would work because because first thing he's gonna do when he buys it, he's gonna parade all around town with trying to embarrass Rob with it. So I knew that this would happen. So.
Hey, if you guys were listening to the video of the fight, you heard they love Rob. So
he's still talking about the fight. He's still going on. Oh, let's talk about the OSI.
You can parade around that bag. I know people love me out there.
No, there are no other Rusted Lord.
There we go. Frugally is telling you right there. No others have been made. A one-of-a-kind collectible.
Although definitely Frugally. I mean, there might be some interest in licensing the art for a shirt or two.
Come on,
my God.
A shirt.
Oh my God!
Come on, man. Oh, I'm all in.
That would be like
all in.
That'd be like the collectible North Texas RPG Con shirt. You only get 5 per year to sell.
Oh, I'm all in. Just make one for Eric and I, and maybe Rob, and that's it.
Okay.
Cut the production line right there, and I am absolutely in. I will finance that. Yes, that is doable.
Oh, Tim bid $40.
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
Yeah. So he will always, if he wins, he will always have his Rob, his Russet Lord.
He's making a list of places he's going to go shopping with it, and then post pictures of it right now.
No, what's going to happen is that in 15 years he'll pull that out. Hey, Rob, you remember this?
Oh yeah, Yeah, he'll take the Judges Guild stuff. He'll toss it in the trash, and he'll just oh, look at this bag.
I don't be so sure. He really might. Sometimes that old stuff, he really gets some good ideas from it.
Maybe I need to grab something to titillate the audience with over here. I got some stuff I can't throw in there.
Oh no! Hey,
I'm going to plug myself here because I'm on Friday night.
Excuse me, Mike.
Yes.
Did you get that? No, the other thing.
This thing? Oh,
yeah.
This old thing? This old dumb thing?
Oh, wait! I thought that was the hardcover that a certain individual.
No. This is a box. It's an empty box now, but it is from the collection of Alan Hammock. And Alan Hammock brought a giant plastic container of goodies and said, "Could you sell these for me?"
Oh,
I got him to sign some certificate of authenticities.
Oh.
By the way, Alan is apparently a stationery thief for when he worked at TSR because here's some stationery, nothing in the envelope. But yes, I've been taking picture stuff for my auction Sunday on the North Texas RPG Con auction page, plug on Facebook. So if you're interested, join because we're gonna have just beautiful stuff.
So I have the basic box set. and it was empty too. And how I got it was I went to this store called Warzone Matrix in Cleveland, Ohio, and it's just like an awesome game store. Stuff piled everywhere. He has it better sorted these days. But I was looking at a table and there was a box set up there. I opened it up, it was empty. And I go to the guy, "Hey, are you selling the box?" "Yeah, give me $15 for it."
Oh my
"Sure."
God! So here's the funny thing, Rob. That you know what the worth? You know what's worth the most now? The dice out of that set. If you can find the dice by itself goes as much as that box set's worth. And people who have parts collect the dice. They collect the empty boxes. Anything they put together a Frankenstein set. But I've seen dice. The dice in the bag sell for over $100. Just the dice.
So to be clear, we're talking the BX dice.
Yes, the ones that originally came with the set.
I mean,
which
not
are the old crayon dice that are shown there with the old crayon.
Yes, those pieces of shit. I mean, the color dice that came with the homes. Now those are worth it. But those dice,
it's not about what they're worth, Robbie, or how good they are. It's just about collectors and what they want to collect. They have a box set, they don't have the dice, and that's the problem. Is everybody uses the dice, and so people have these box sets. They don't have dice in them. They want the dice. So.
Oh, dude! If you want to collect old dice, buy the one from the home. I'm not going to get up and pull it down, but they're up there. That's the whole one. I bought that home set for two reasons. One, it was the edition that I got for Christmas that started my whole D&D experience, and two, it had the original dice in it.
They're
yellow for the proper colors: yellow for D6, green for a D8, blue for a D12, white for a D20, and orange for a D6.
Those things are crazy hard to find with the dice in it, and just I'm going to try on eBay right now. Holmes dice. I don't know if that's. Whatever, but it's a giant search. I'd have to narrow it down.
All right. So here,
but anyway, that stuff's crazy. Here we go. Here's a set that sold for $200, $272.
Holy shit!
Good
so
Lord.
if I go broke, I can sell that for $200.
Just sell the you don't even have to, you can piece it out. Sell the set separately, and then sell the dice by themselves.
All right. So now, so Mike, did you see? Because I've had like 4 different people send me screenshots of a certain individual who maybe published a game that may have something to do with two hands. It's Zweihander. Yes.
Zweihander.
Yeah. Showing off.
What has he done now?
I was going to say.
Showing off, I guess, a personally printed copy of BX with the same cover you just showed as a hardcover.
Whoa. Is this the same guy that went over the top because people were he's just about not publishing his game, but he doesn't care about pirating other people's games.
Wait a minute. Let me get this straight. This is the guy who took down that D&D pirate site that was really that was easier to use than Drive-Thru RPG.
Right.
Yeah.
And he is selling a photocopy.
Not selling. He's showing off his personal copy that he had printed out. I don't know if he said it was at Lulu.
It's probably Lulu, because Lulu has a very nice hardcover BX that's all in one that is highly illegal, but it's trade among collectors.
He didn't make it himself.
Let's just say that
one.
I'm not going to say I have a copy right over here.
Here's the thing.
I may have a copy right here.
I know that you can print a copy for yourself, but the basic expert PDF that's been floating around is not the original PDF. Somebody mashed the PDF together so you can, and they mashed together the front and the back. So you're using a file put together by a third party that has nothing to do with anything that you might actually own. So
he just wants people to do what I say.
So it's like that grade book for OD&D that was floating around for a while.
But it's very nice. I wish I could show you my copy. It's really beautiful. But yes, it's a pirated version, but this is the same guy that threw a hissy because there was a D&D site up that allowed you to pirate.
It was more than a D&D site. It just had about every damn thing.
It had everything on there.
If it's not there, it doesn't exist. All right, so I'm going to bring us back to the beginning. kind of. So, Rob, you've read the Orc license,
Yes,
right?
I've read the Orc license.
And I'm sure you read the Axe because it's the facts. But just give me the Axe. Compared to the OGL, a few things that stuck out to me was first off, you don't have to repeat the whole license. You don't need to establish an SRD for material that will be shared.
Well, I'm not sure if that was ever a distinction from the OGL. You didn't have to establish an OGL SRD for the OGL.
True.
I mean, if you go by the Legends RPG, just use the damn book. It said in there. It says this book is everything but the art is open content.
Fair enough, but it some ways simplifies, in some ways, in my reading of it, grays some of the separations between what is open and what is closed. What is by default shared and what is by default not shared, product identity, whatever you want to call it. I personally, I like it. I think they did a great job with it. I'm going to loudly say, and thank God there's no fucking. It's probably the first time I'm cursing too. No fucking morality clause in the thing, because Mike will tell you we were paying very close attention to the events leading up to the Orc license,
Sure.
and the publishers and personalities that were involved as discussions were forming over a new license. And some of these voices, some of these publishers were very insistent, very loud about a morality clause being included.
Oh boy.
And I know I did a video back then in the days of the OGL drama, mentioning that there was a discussion regarding the Orc license and the morality clause, and it was something that garnered the attention of Eric Mona himself, the one leading the charge for the Orc license over at Paizo, and he told me flat out, please do not discuss a morality clause. There's no plan for a morality clause. There's no intent to have a morality clause. He didn't come out and say there's no way in hell it's going to happen, but he made it pretty clear that his own opinion, his own vision did not include a morality clause, and I'm glad.
Eric, it is an absolute mess. They don't. Nobody with half a brain wants to do something like that because it is an. What do you include, not include? What is included, not included? Can you imagine a team of lawyers trying to write that thing and trying to say who we don't want to offend and who do we don't care if we offend and how far do we? It's just a mess. Nobody wants to sit in that sticky tar paper. They don't want to. I just can't see somebody wanting to do something like that and then having to actually write it out and vet it and make sure that it's absolutely not going to cause a controversy.
Right. Well,
my position is freedom is a right, but freedom is a responsibility. And but the solution when people are not responsible about their freedom, basically to mock them incessantly until point out look at the crappy thing this pit, get up on that pulpit, point out what they're doing, why it's wrong. I had to deal with this with Judges Guild. I didn't try to paint, all the world is falling. No, my problem was one guy doing a thing that was terrible,
right?
Who I could no longer do business for him, and I explained why, and I stuck it with that. And so when that happens, that's the solution. We cannot legislate morality. We just have to live. We have to be an example of morality, of the life we want to live, and we have to hold people accountable for what they do and say.
The marketplace figures it out, doesn't it, Rob? I mean, pretty much, and it did in that case too.
I would say the people figure it out.
Yeah, the people. Yeah, absolutely. And look, I mean, it's not a secret, but Frog God had to go to court and seek redress because stupid things, and so it cost personally this person a large amount of money because they couldn't keep their mouth shut.
And if you don't mind, Mike, the reason why you went to court because you had a social media clause in it, and for those of you who are looking to, or who are in the business or looking to be in the business, and you're going to associate with somebody, and you're not sure about their social media presence, or you have doubt, you may want to include in your licensing contract a social media clause in case something happens and all of a sudden the value of your inventory has reduced to nil.
Yeah, absolutely, because it does have I don't want to go into a ton of details. It's just not the subject for tonight. But yeah, it had an effect on our products, and it pissed us off. And this person wouldn't listen and wouldn't shut up. And yeah, luckily we had that clause in there because we were able to point it out, and the judge ruled in our favor. Absolutely, was no question that this person had violated the clause. By the content of their YouTube page. I'm not YouTube, their Facebook page.
So now,
it's bad, but I mean, you can't be going down to your hometown and posting just anything on the telephone poles for all to read, which is posting on Facebook amounts to.
Naked pictures of yourself? You shouldn't be doing that.
It's one of those things.
That's why I tell my kids: if you're comfortable going to downtown Meadville right now and printing out what you want to say and posting it on a telephone pole, you go ahead, post it on the internet.
Consequences will, that's one thing you have to tell kids now. One of the things I've beaten to my grandkids is that you live in a different world than I did. There's things I could do that you absolutely can't do, and everybody around you has a camera. And so, you can't do the things we did. You just can't. You have to be very aware that even if you don't see a camera, I guarantee there's a camera there. There's a camera everywhere. You don't see the camera, but it's there. And so you have to be very careful what you say and do in public. And this came about, this came about as through an Xbox session that, my kid was playing and was saying things. I said, dude, you can't say that. Oh yeah, I can because no, you can't say that because it's. I don't care if it's Xbox session and all your buddies are saying that too. You can't do it because somebody there is recording it, and someday you're gonna run for Senate, and that person's gonna say, "Oh, look what happened in 2015. This is what he said on Xbox." How does just can't do it.
We've seen that happen in other places too.
And sure, all the time. You're proven correct because it does happen all the time. People pop up. Who is saving this stuff? Who knows? But they are. They save it.
Oh yeah.
They keep it saved and they pop it out when
you never know when you need it.
No, you never know when.
But Joseph Carter has a very good statement here. Not that just the morality clause, not just a bad idea, not just a stupid, but if you open yourself up to judging other people's morality, you put yourself on the hook for an impossible responsibility.
That's why any lawyer who's halfway intelligent will tell you don't do it because they see the morass this is and then the absolute tar pit this is, and they will tell you do not do this. And that's why companies are, they're not doing it because it's a mess. It's good for. Look, if you're a baseball team, it's great to have a morality clause because you know why? It's so open-ended that you can kick somebody off your team for anything. And if you're a baseball player and you sign that, you're stupid. You shouldn't, but they have these built-in morality clauses and they work 100% in favor of the management because pretty much any behavior they don't like fits under there and they can kick you off kick you off the team. It happens every day. Happened the other day. A bunch of football players got caught but they weren't New York Jets, Eric, so don't worry. They were
shush.
They were Detroit Lions. And they got kicked off their team because they were betting on NFL games. And look, guess what? You have a morality clause in there that says that if you bet on you're off. So they saved themselves a lot of money off contracts by kicking, first of all, they were suspended. Then they got kicked off their team because it was in the morality clause. So morality clauses don't help you. You think they do. They don't help anything about you. They help management, but in most cases, they're impossible to enforce. And then you're left with the question, why are you enforcing this part of the morality clause and not this part? And look, Eric and I have seen that in the last few months with these dumb Facebook pages that open up and say, we're going to do old school D&D or OSR D&D or AD&D D&D. And then somebody comes in there and craps all over the page. And then they're, okay, why are you not kicking this person off? Well, Yeah,
they're on our political side.
They're on our side. We don't kick people off on our side that shit the bed. And both sides do it. Believe me, both sides. Oh,
Fugly makes a good point. That picture from the frat party, not your political friend, not your friend if you're an executive at Bud Light. Because remember, after she talked about frat humor and how they're going to go away from it, you get pictures of her when she's in college at a frat party, drinking beer and doing stupid shit.
There's no good ending to these stories. And and not only that, but social media really is not your friend don't you don't need, if you're 18 or 20 years old, don't get a Twitter account. First of all, nobody gives a fuck what you think when you're 20 years old. They really don't. And you're not going to say anything intelligent anyway. All you're going to do is put landmines in your future career when you have a Twitter account when you're a kid, or even a really Facebook account should be you should be putting pictures of bunnies and your pet and your you and your girlfriend going to prom. There should be anything else out there about, here's what I think about the political process in the United States. First of all, once again, nobody gives a shit about what you think when you're 20 about anything, and it can only hurt you. It can never help you. So,
okay, to answer Joseph's question, I think that I think the whole Creative Commons 5e SRD being released under the Creative Commons, they panicked and they blinked and they were frantically searching for, it's all crashing in. Put the thumb in the dike is not working. Do something. Okay. And just count our blessings that we have it now, because it's worse than the OGL. They are not able to revoke it.
Right. And that's the thing with the ORC too. The ORC is irrevocable. The ORC is filed with the Library of Congress or some shit like that under copyright. And it's managed by Azora Law. So no publisher. See now, folks. There was discussion at the beginning of the ORC talk, even before they named what the ORC was, that there would have to be a board of publishers put together to manage this new license. And here's the issue with that: once you have to manage a license, you're responsible for enforcing it. Do you really want to be responsible for enforcing it? Listen, the ORC license tells you if there's an issue with this, the offended party is going to have to be the one that enforces the license if there's an issue. But if there was a board, the board would be the one stuck with that shit. And if there's a board, that's when the morality clause would likely have landed.
Yes.
And the morality clause is, again, morality is subjective. It is one of the most subjective things in this world. What I find morally offensive, Rob might not. Might get excited by it. I don't know. But, so where that line is, it's a way to get rid of, quote, bad actors. And who decides?
It can backfire on you. Look, the Frog God Games was part of this whole deal, and we were adamantly opposed to any morality clause because exactly what you said, Eric, we did not want to have to enforce it. And they said, well, we probably want a Frog God Games person on board. And everybody was like, nope, no. Everybody said, no, thumbs down. We are not going to be on this board because it is a bear trap. You're eventually gonna either not look at something or say something. You're gonna either say something's okay, and everybody's gonna say it's not okay, or you're gonna say that's fine. And either way, you're screwed. You're just absolutely screwed, and no good can result of it. You're never gonna please everybody. And yeah, that's an absolute bear trap. Don't step into bear traps.
So related to the open content, a little different topic. All the questions. So ever since the ORC license was released, you know me, I like to talk about this, licensing and promote open content and sharing. So I participated in a few different forums over in EndWorld, RPG Pub, and stuff like that. But this time around, I realized something. I kind of did before, but it really crystallized in a simple statement for me. Licensing issues are only an issue if you don't want to share. Yeah. If you want to share and you share completely, all you have to just say, all the text and maps or all the, for our RPB project, All the text and maps are open content, and then that's it. That's all you're not worried about whether you have to declare this is that or this is that. And I know it's kind of negative for people who take pride in their work and they want to keep control of it, but if that's what your goal is, then you're going to have complications if you want to reuse other people's stuff, because you don't want to share fully for whatever reason, good or bad. You're going to have complications. But if you share fully, like I do with Black Mart, which I do with the Majestic Fantasy RPG, I don't have to worry about what I incorporate and stuff. As long as I do the proper credit, I'm good because I share everything. And I tell you, I've been tracking my data. I mean, I'm not saying I don't sell as much as Frog Gods or James Raggy or Kevin Crawford, but I got my sales, and I've been tracking them. And every time I've been up and down, I pretty much know what the reason is, and it is nothing to do with people copying my shit. It's everything that you do, either me or what I'm doing, or somebody online said, "Hey, look at Blackmark. This is cool." And all of a sudden I get 10 sales in 1 month of the print copy. And it's like, whoa, where did those come from?
So, I mean, overall, I'm going to answer the unasked question, but I get asked this question a couple times a week. What's happening with Continual Light? I'm still waiting to see how all this sorts out. Now that Matt has his Swords and Wizardry license out, now I got to read Matt's license, see if I want to work off that, see if I want to fall under the ORC, the Creative Commons. What do I got to do to make it?
All three, Eric. Do all three.
Well,
OGL, Creative Commons, and ORC. It's your IP. You release it under all three, and let the user decide.
I need to figure out if I need to change any of my content to fall under the auspices of and this is just the whole. I am a hobby publisher. Okay, I'm a hobbyist. This is what I do as a hobby. It's not what I do for my income. For those that this is their income. There's a shirt for Rob. I share everything. That sounds like a swingers shirt, Rob. I'm afraid to ask. Kellyanne might have something to say about that. But
thanks, Tim. Now there's a new bag coming in to make Rob. I share everything.
By the way, Tammy, I know companies that when they hire you will absolutely check your social history, which including one of the ones my youngest brother works for, and they will absolutely check your social history, and they will absolutely not hire you because of that, although they won't say that. They are not allowed to say that's why they didn't hire you, but you just won't pass the screening process when they pull up your picture and they find you, half naked, male or female, drinking beer on a, Sunday night. They may just say, it's not the person we want as a sales rep for our company. Yes, that is true. Or if you're walking around town holding this bag, you may not get hired at a company. And I'm not saying why, but I'm just saying that this may indicate something that they don't want to, that your company doesn't want to promote, which is Rob Conley looking like a potato. They may not want to promote that.
Potato. Folks, right now, Tim Shorts is
I can't do it. My role playing skills stop at being the
$40. Do I need to? I think $40 is a pretty decent price. I was going to throw something else in there, but I think I think Tim's going to have it, and I don't want Tim to get more goodies.
Back to Meville, baby. But it's in Tim's hand, so I'm doomed.
I've got a half-eaten box of red berries.
Red berries.
I don't know if it gets you. It might not be good anymore, Tim, but it may be stale. So.
It's a little steel cereal. It all goes to the same place.
That's what we're working with here. I think it's probably still good. It's only been sitting here
Eric, for 2 days. About your licensing of
so crispy.
Swords and Continual Light. I mean, if you really wanted something uncomplicated, just put the credit for Wizards of the Coast from the CCBY, and then then you can share that under any license you want. And
so Hob want to know what's in the bag. We have a Judges Guild 1982 catalog and a still in the bag Dungeoneer 17 from I think 1981, still in the original mailing sleeve for Judges Guild.
And by the way,
maybe Hob's going to challenge here in the last few minutes of our.
By the way, mailing sleeves is not a condition.
No, it's not.
Well, I don't know.
I have no clue.
Is this the same Hobbs who has the podcast?
I don't know if the mighty Hob is Jason Hobbs.
Is this our Hob? Is this the Hobbs?
Is there?
If it's Jason Hobb, he might be wary of having anything with my visage there. It might totally steamroll the next 20 minutes, the first 20 minutes of all his podcasts. I feel really bad about it now in hindsight, but
I'm afraid.
You just asked the question and I couldn't stop.
Oh,
Tim does not want the box of red berries.
Of red berries. No red berries for me.
No red berries. Okay. All right. Just the Judges Guild goodies.
This is Baba Wawa. I want no red berries.
That's okay. We're going to sell it anyway.
Oh, he's really trying.
Is there nothing that can sweeten the pot? Well, I mean, you know, what are you looking for, Hob? I mean, come on. I got a bunch of stuff right here. You want a Middle Earth map here? I mean, come on.
Do you have a copy of my Black Marsh?
I don't have one here, Rob, and I wouldn't throw that in there anyway. That's too valuable. I have plenty of Judges Guild stuff. I only have a couple of copies of Black Marsh.
Well, you know, if it's the one that has staples, I would hold on to that.
Oh,
those are not being printed anymore.
See,
Drive through changed their format.
I probably sold one of those once upon a time. How about a Judges Guild Silver and Sorcery Game Master Shield?
There you go.
I've got a pile of those. So
yeah, before you open the
buys
shrink wrap, you're not allowed to open the shrink wrap until you read the rules and understand them.
So for those that don't know, Judges Guild issued a few shields over the days. They issued also Traveler Shield, and both are well known for their many mistakes on both the CNS Game Master Shield and the Traveler Shield had several issues. So
really, what's wrong with the Traveler Shield?
Traveler Shield's got some mistakes on it,
right? Yeah,
got some
typos. I guess it's time to Rob to pull out his stuff.
Here we go.
If you had a bingo card, there's something you going bingo right now.
But the CNS Shield apparently also. I don't know anything about CNS Shield.
Be in this. Oh yeah, there it is.
Yes, there's apparently a few typos.
It's the see-through. It's the cloaking device. I don't think that's part of the rules in Traveler.
Probably not.
So what's wrong with the Traveler Shield?
People that know say there are several typos on the shield, Rob. I'm not going to point them out because I don't know Traveler that good. I'm just telling you what I've seen and heard from people.
Oh, the numbers could be off.
Which by the way,
this is.
I'm not putting it past Judges Guild to do a crap job because they were not known for their super quality on all that stuff. So,
but in their favor, I mean, look what they had to do back in the day. I mean, this was all done by, pasteboard layout.
Yeah.
Certainly.
I mean, I won't even go over, but I mean, look, any Judges Guild product is going to have typos in it. I mean, some are don't matter, some do matter. I mean, Dark Tower had some typos in it. There was an errata page for Dark Tower back in the day. I mean, which hopefully Joe and them are going to fix when they come out with their kick-ass Dark Tower Kickstarter one of these days. I can't wait to get it. I'm still waiting for it.
Yeah, now would be that will go to all the money for that will go to Janelle. Well, not all the money, but she will get the share of that.
By the way, Janelle, quality human being. She donated a pretty good sized box of stuff to the con and I did not have a chance to look through it at the time, and I finally was able to look through it the other day at the warehouse, and yeah, it's just a huge pile of 1E and 2E. A lot of it's still shrink wrapped, Eric, and all of it in perfect condition. Probably comps she received while she worked there and for TSR in the 90s. It was all 90s stuff, but it was some really nice. I was shocked at the quality. Like I said, it was all pretty much brand new condition. So thank you very much, Janelle. Janelle's a huge supporter of the con. Nice, wonderful person. Nice person that we honor at the con every year. So, and by the way, is in the North Texas Hall of Fame for going above and beyond the Call of Duty and doing 8 of our logos over the years. So, and Gary just told me something else. James Shield has done our last couple of logos, including last year's amazing logo that I had. For North Texas. This is the one. This is for this year. Really incredible.
Oh,
and we've got James doing next year's. Janelle approached us and said, "Hey, I got the bug again. I'd like to do a logo for you guys next year." We're like, "Whoa, really?" Because if she goes, "Well, I know you already have James doing it." I said, "Well, we can have 2 logos because we're not going to turn down the great Janelle Jaquays who wants to do a logo for our convention." So Eric, we may have a Janelle logo also next year. A new first one since their 10th anniversary, first one in 5 years. So,
Nice.
Yes.
By the way, folks, fair warning. I'm putting the 5-minute timer on right now. 5 minutes from now, we will stop taking bids on the receipts.
Oh, the Mighty Hob outbids.
Oh, he's not gonna let Tim torment you, Rob.
I don't know. Tim might have to step up and bid at
He's
least.
not going to let Tim torment you by,
That's all right. Tim
by putting women's panties in there and shopping at Frederick's of Hollywood and putting all the goodies in the receipts of the Rust Lord bag. Thank you, Hob. Money, by the way, the money goes to North Texas RPG Con. And thank you for Fugly for giving us that, and thank you for Rob for being a good sport about it. And thank you for Eric.
I just wanted to get it. I just wanted to get the joke. I just didn't understand it. And then we all said the title of my module outline. And it went, oh, now I get it. Sorry for being so dense, but it's the way I was.
That's okay.
When I was a kid.
We just thought it was awesome. It took a while for it to sink in for all of us. We got the.
It was just funny. So we appreciate humor, and it was just humorous anyway. Yeah. So
like we got the idea of why it was a potato. We understood that.
Yeah, that was easy.
And then the potato peelers in the back, when that was explained to us, I was like, that's awesome. Game of Thrones. We didn't all understand the receipts either until it was kind of like receipts. Oh! North Texas happens in Irving. Right?
We only talk about it every show we ever do, but no, it's the first weekend of June. This next year will be our 16th con, and by the way, you can still buy discounted tickets for the next 2 weeks. It's on Tabletop Events. They're discounted $25 for the next 2 weeks only. Usually $100. They'll be $75 for the next 2 weeks.
You mean you have to commit to next year North Texas now?
You can't go. You can roll it over. So yes, Irving, Texas, every first weekend in June. We have about 40 special guests, all luminaries in the hobby, people you've heard of. Great people. So
I'm sorry to interrupt your spiel, but I want to attend someday. So if I want to go next year, I have to buy the tickets now.
No, you can buy the tickets anytime. We only discount for 1 month of the year, though. We have a discount. It's usually $100 for the weekend pass, but for the month of July, actually not for the whole month of July. We started last week, so for I think till July 23rd, tickets are only $75, and it's a bargain because you can still roll that over if you don't go next year. Okay. So we wouldn't charge you more if you rolled it over to 2025. We'd say, oh, okay, it's still the same thing. So
okay, all right.
Yes. We sell it all up until we sell them up until the con, and at the con you could actually buy a ticket, walk-up ticket. It's just that you don't get the discount.
When is usually the event submission deadline?
We haven't even started event submissions yet, but usually the deadline is somewhere in March or April.
Okay.
Usually early April.
So it's a lot closer to the con.
Yeah. Usually by April 1st. We don't even release a special guest list. We probably release a special guest list till December. But it's going to be, I'm just going to let you in on a secret. It's going to be the same old guy. Steve Winter will be on there. Alan Hammock will be on there. Just the guys we always have. Mike and Liz Stewart are always special guests. Janelle Jaquays will be a special guest. She and her wife Rebecca drive across town. They live on the other side of Dallas, so Rebecca Hyman they will be special guests. So there's not a lot of surprises there. We have a few people every year that we throw in there that haven't been special guests before, or I've got a couple of really big names I'm working on this year. Probably won't be able to afford James Ragg again this year. That was a one and done because that was an expensive ticket from Europe, man.
Oh, sure.
Round trip.
But there was a sponsor or two involved in that, right?
There was a sponsor or two involved, which we greatly appreciate. So we have a couple of really huge Lamentations fans in the DFW area, and they said, "Look, we will kick in money because we're going to bring a huge stuff for him to sign." We're like, "Okay." And apparently they were smarter than I was because I was so stupid. I didn't get James to sign a single thing, and he was sitting right across from me for 3 days, and I didn't bring my box set or anything for him to sign. Dumb. That's why you put on a con, Mike. Get these guys to sign your stuff.
Sign my stuff. 1 minute warning, folks. 1 minute warning.
I had his box set on my desk downstairs sitting there waiting to be brought to the con. I didn't get him to sign it. And when am I ever going to see him again? Probably never. So we may have him again.
I have a bunch of his book in my Zine section up on my shelf. He always does digest sites for most part, so
right.
That's where they go.
I did get Amazed the Blue Medusa signed by he and Zach at one of my friends purchased it at Gen Con years ago. So I do have the Unspeakable Zach and James signed that. So. But yes, he was sitting across me for 3 days, and I paid to have him come, and I didn't get him to sign anything.
James had
dumb.
He left glowing. Folks, I'm going to say we've got 30 seconds left.
Tim's the only other serious bidder here. Tim and Tenkar. Tenkar, are you out? You're out, right, Eric?
I'm out. Looks like the Mighty Hob.
Tim, you're the only serious bidder.
No,
you are the only other serious bidder here.
Oh, yeah. Well,
this is the Dallas.
Do I hear 56? Do I hear 56? Do I hear 56?
You hear 51?
Going once. Going twice.
10 seconds.
Sold to the man to Dallas.
Hold on. And officially, Hob, we're going to call it.
Yeah,
Hob,
that's going to make shipping much easier. Thank you, Hob. You are the owner of this fine, one-of-a-kind sack we found out from Mr. Fugley. And there is some Judges Guild goodies in there also, and I will ship that to you. If you can get in touch with me with your mailing address, lives in the Dallas area, perfect. I'm on Facebook, or send your info to Eric on the Tenkar's Tavern. Hopefully, you're on Facebook.
I
make it easy for you to get.
I suggest one bit of future proofing, Mike. Make a little index card and explain the joke. So 30 years from now, when they look at this bag, they understand what.
Should we do, or should we just have them looking at it like puzzled and I don't get it? I almost kind of rather have it to be a mystery for future generations of scholars.
I'm just. I'll say when I'm like refereeing my sandbox. Well, if that's your choice.
Oh, so yeah, just send your address through the Discord then, Hob. I think I know who you are then. Thank you thank you very much. That money goes to North Texas. We get money from donations, from the auction, from raffle tickets, but yes, stuff like this helps out. So thanks very much. Every bit helps. We don't end up with a lot of money at the end of the year. We do not. This should be a nonprofit because we make a nonprofit from this, because of people like James Raggett suck up all our guests. No, I'm just kidding. James was a great guest. James, he ran games. I saw him run a game 3 times. His audience, all the people in his game had a blast every time. He is a great dungeon master. He runs a really, really good game. And so thanks for he and his girlfriend. Oh gosh, what was his girlfriend's name? I want to say Heidi. It wasn't Heidi. Helda. Oh my God, I can't remember. She was sweet though. She was really nice, very nice. So yes. Thanks to James for James. James is he was a good guest, man. He did a good job.
And he made a good bank on what he sold.
I think he did really well. He brought a lot of out of print stuff. I bought a second copy of Veins of the Earth, and this is it because you can't find this anymore, and I believe it's out of print and probably not able to be found.
I gotta ask, what is that about?
So it is a very dense. How long is it? It's a very dense 300-page. It's about adventuring underground, but imagine in a lamentation style. So it goes over really creepy monsters, creepy things that can happen to you. I'm not a big fan of Scrap Princess's art. I'm sorry, I'm not. But it fits this because this is really creepy. It's about things that happen underground that aren't really good. There's magic items that do terrible things. There's monsters that do awful things. There's how to map underground, just different areas you can find underground. It's all about, if you're doing a Underdark campaign and you want something really creepy, this is what you need. Something very Lamentations-y, this is the book.
Cool.
So it's out of print. It sells online for about $200, $300 now. At least that's the one I see on eBay. That's how much they go for. So I thought I'd pick up a second copy. I may never use it. I may use it. I'm running World Deep right now, or I may never use it. I don't know. I got fascinated the other day. I looked at the page of Underdark items, magic items you can find, and that could kind of help you, but might not help you. And I got, okay, I could use. Okay, some of these might find their way into my players' hands. And matter of fact, I'm gonna use my little red thing to mark that page because I just saw it again. So my players may be bedeviled by some of the creepy magic items you find.
Well, I think we had a good show tonight.
We did all right.
I'm glad I was able to help out.
We covered for Glen admirably, and he will be back, I guess, in the 2 weeks, right, Eric?
2 weeks. Yes. I'm sorry, James. You are a little late to insult.
So, yeah, get lost, you B author clown. John says, "Why is Visitors out of print?" Well, because actually, James has a very robust print thing where his rights revert back to the person after, I think, a printing, unless they want Lamentations to keep printing it. And some people, very famously, Blood and the Chocolate guy said, I don't want you to ever print this again. As a matter of fact, I want this destroyed." And so if you find Blood and the Chocolate, please keep it. It's worth quite a bit of money now because the author disavowed it totally and did not want. So yes, he will revert the rights back to you if you wish for it to go back to you. And I believe Patrick Stewart wanted the rights back, and so it's out of print until Patrick Stewart, when or if Patrick Stewart may or may not decide to ever print it again.
Right. So
wow, it's never a bad time to insult that cheese-sniffing lollygagger. He's not wrong on any of those, any of those points. So thank you. Know what? Maybe we need to have James on the show because I'm tired of him insulting me every time he pops on the chat. I want him live so I can insult him to his face.
Live.
Do you have any? I think James did mention he does have a project coming up, not soon, but when he does, we will have James on the show because James is a delight. He is an extremely. Oh, I hate to compliment this guy because he's such a beatdown, but he is an extremely talented creative person.
He does good work. Excellent work. Buy his stuff, guys.
He does some really good stuff. White Star is awesome. His what's the name of his
Hero's Journey?
Hero's Journey is great stuff. And by the way, I finally got the Hero's Journey edition or add-on, which is really good too. So, but other than that, he's a piece of crap. So.
Yeah, except for all his good stuff.
Except for all the good stuff we're saying. He's a garbage human being. And you know what he loves? I will tell you this. If you love James and what he loves the Star Wars holiday special. And so if you see him wherever he online and you could send him a clip for the YouTube video of B author singing the song during that song, he loves it. He will watch it with really pretty much nothing on. And I won't let you know what happens while he's watching with nothing on. But
Mike, that's kind of too much information there.
Yeah.
Way too much.
But send him a clip of that. Send him that clip. He loves that clip. Loves that clip. Huge Maude fan, huge B author fan. He often watches Maude with no clothing on too. It's actually kind of a catchy song if you hear it a couple times. I didn't say that out loud, but I've sent James so many clips of it over the years that I've managed to hear it several times, and so it's kind of a catchy song. You know, it's not.
All right, I'm glad I know very little of. I've only seen bits and pieces of this special, and everything I've seen.
Bad. It's so bad.
Oh my god!
Happy Life Day, everybody!
It's like somebody's using their 8mm camera to record off a 14-inch TV set.
Look, if you I can't stop laughing. If you think
we're
seeing
gonna
a
lose
bunch of
Mike
actors and actresses dressed up in furry ape outfits grunt for 5 minutes isn't high cinema, then you don't know what you're talking about, because they do that.
Oh, geez. All right, folks, on that note, we're going to leave you on a high note, as in drugs or something of that sort, because nobody sober would be talking about this shit.
No.
Huge thank you to Rob Conley. Rob.
Yes, thank you, Rob.
Your insights were excellent.
Always a pleasure to have you on Talking LARPs.
Fighting the open source battle.
And fighting the open source battle, yes. Now, there is, by the way, so if you do happen to see this online, there is a scene that does have Harrison Ford and Carrie in there, and they are loaded. From they have said years later, they will tell you they were drunk as a skunk during that scene. And oddly enough, you can tell. So, yes, if you get to watch it on YouTube, watch it.
I'm going to have to look it up now. Yep. Thank you to my twice a week spouse. This
back
week.
Next week with Joe Block, and he's probably going to talk Castle of the Mad Archmage and other things. And so, yeah, we love to talk to Joe too. He's always got some good insights.
And the week after that, quite possibly Skeeter Green.
Maybe a Skeeter Green. We're going to link it right here, but
I'll leak it. I'll whip it out. Skeeter Green.
Skeeter saw the list of Annie's nominations, and he flew off the handle and contacted Eric and I said, I agree. It's usually it's garbage most of the time. I didn't realize that Darcy was there, but besides Darcy and Vason and Rivers of London, it's pretty much. There's one thing in particular that was on the list that Skeeter and I both had a long discussion about. That doesn't need to be on that list. And
was it one of the choices? One of the special editor's choices or whatever it was, like spotlight?
No,
was it a spotlight?
It was a WotC product that doesn't need to be on there because it was universally panned. It got horrible reviews, and yet it's on there for some mysterious reason.
Well, and WotC never stopped submitting like a decade ago.
Stop.
Right?
You've
winning
won
too
it
many...
so many times.
Yeah.
Fraud God stopped submitting because we won it a few times, and you let somebody else get a shot. And nobody wants to see your garbage anyway. And this is a garbage product. So,
all right. So, folks, tomorrow maybe a bonus episode of the cast talking about the Ennies. Just quick once over. Tomorrow night, Gamers Health, 8 p.m. We've actually had a request for a topic. We're going to be touching on depression, what it is, what it isn't, methods to dealing with and beyond. I am going to be less involved in this. This is Rachel's specialty. She's a social worker. I'm just the asshole. So Rach will have the reins. I'll just deal with everything else. So, folks, thank you so much. Be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice. Roll them well.
Next week, next Friday night will be the
random party generator, RPG. The RPG. Which I was going, why did I make it the random party generator? Random generator party sounds so much better. Yeah. And then I went, it's RPG. Yes. It doesn't. Yeah. If it was RGP, people go, what? Well, I forgot why I did something for months. In any case, there's some insight. Good night, folks.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.